Well, guys, thank you for tuning in to the Sean Inspires podcast. I am Sean Allen, your podcast host and transformation life coach. This is an amazing segment. I have been really studying my expert that I have as a guest sitting in with us today. Guys, his name is Christian Straka, and Christian is sitting in with us from Los Angeles, California. So, Christian, I'm going to introduce the audience by reading your bio and sharing just a little bit before I go ahead and turn it over to you to introduce yourself. So, guys, thank you for tuning in. As mentioned, today we have sharing with the Sean Inspires podcast, Christian Straker. He is a mental performance coach and has been working in professional sports for over 30 years, during which time he has been training world champions across different sports and developed a unique approach through methodologies for applying evidence-based mindfulness techniques in sports to optimize performance. Christian has been practicing mindfulness for many years, is working as the global mindset coach for Adidas runners, and is also the co-founder of MindSize Sports LLC, Maverick Community LLC, and Maverick Forward, a 501c3 initiative. He is a unified mindfulness L2 coach, a member of the Mindfulness Facilitation Program at UCLA's Mindfulness Awareness Research Center and Simeo Institute for Neuroscience and Human Behavior, and a member of the International Mindfulness Teachers Association. Christian, you have an impressive bio with some amazing things here listed. You've worked with so many amazing people. You've built great community organizations, but we're glad to have you today. So I want you to come in your own way and just share a little bit with the audience about Christian and all of the great work that you're doing.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Sean. Very nice to be here with you. Who's Christian? I would say somewhat deep inside, Christian, really just the little guy that I felt I was, when I was growing up in this little town in Germany. But that is now mixed in kind of over the last 4 decades with just more and more things that I have experienced in my life, like all the mistakes I've done, all the people that I've learned from and are continuing to learn from every single day. I listen to people that are inspiring, listen to people that have information that I don't have, that I wouldn't be able to access without them, because they're able to condense the relevant information from the scientific communities. And the experiences in life, like going through all the ups and downs of life, myself, and also the people that are close to me, the people that I have been part of their journeys, that I've been coaching or helping, going through the ups and downs with somebody together, and your own over the last 40 years, basically, in combination with, who I felt I always was, is kind of what it's like to be me now.
Wow, amazing. So would you say your inspiration, I love your personal introduction, would you say your inspiration for becoming a mindfulness coach, what led you in that direction? Was it something you kind of intentionally went after, or was it something over the years you saw yourself moving in the direction of?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was from my teens and in my early 20s, I was very, very, very averse towards anything that had to do with psychology or the mind. Anybody telling me like what I should be doing mentally or not, and how to feel or anything in that realm, I had very, very little knowledge. And at the same time, I thought, nobody knows anything, because anything that I've ever heard, it didn't connect to me at all. I wasn't exposed to anybody early on in my life that had a deep experiential knowledge of how powerful the mind really is and how you can benefit from developing certain mental skills. And those people definitely existed, and they exist for many, many years, but that's not somebody who was in my life. So my journey to this was really that I had certain gifts and certain skills that I was given that I didn't have to work so very much for in order to be able to compete at a high level at tennis. But then and then I developed those skills also further, so you improve. But then there were other skills that like I didn't improve so much, and I was not gifted that much either. Namely, my ability to focus on what was important, or my ability to deal with challenges and certain challenges. There's certain challenges that were easy for me to deal with. I didn't have a real negative, kind of or difficult relationship with certain challenges, and other challenges I was really bummed out. Like if I would get anxious, if I would get nervous, that was a real challenge for me. Not knowing ever that is something you can change, you can improve and develop those abilities. So over the years, it was a twofold. On the one side, I got kind of really, metaphorically speaking, hit in the head with experiences that showed me how powerful my mind is, and how difficult it can be to deal with challenging experiences, emotions, different thoughts, external experiences, losses, and so forth. And on the other side, I saw it with the people that I was coaching. The better the athletes were, the more apparent it basically became that the better they were performing, the more impact their mental and emotional state had on their performance. Because if they would be paying attention to what mattered, and they would really not pay attention to anything that would not help their performance, they were performing at the very best. And if they weren't doing that, they were performing terribly. It was such a big cliff. And I was just witnessing that over and over and over, myself and in other people. And eventually, slowly, like this is over a period of, basically a decade of me coaching, and a previous 1.5 decades of me competing. So we're talking about a 25-year time span that showed me, was like, why is my mind so easily hooked on stuff that is challenging and unpleasant, and I have an unpleasant thought and I completely lose it, or I get super anxious or nervous just because there's one thing that I think about, or because I see one thing or somebody says one thing, and the other way around, it doesn't work at all. If I would just tell myself just one thing that's positive, and that didn't have the same effect on me. I didn't feel all of a sudden confident and focused. And I didn't know that these were skills. I didn't know that I have the ability to actually direct my attention to whatever I want. And the ability is not that great because I'm not training it in a systematic way, but nonetheless, I have that ability just the way I had the ability to walk, but I can't sprint as fast and as long as I like because I haven't been training it. And then once I learned that is actually something that you can develop, that there's a system and there's techniques and exercises, and there also are internal skills, and you can train them this way and you can train them that way. And when you want to improve your ability to pay attention while you're getting distracted, like then this is the exercise you do. And if you want to improve your ability to change your relationship to being anxious, like then this is the exercise you do, and so forth. I was like, that's what I'm going to do. I don't want to learn anything else in my life other than that. That was
Wow.
It had such a big impact on me, the realization that is something that I could change. I was like, I don't want to do anything else anymore for me personally. And then, yeah.
So would you say you said there are a lot of key things in that answering of the question. You said something that is always, I find it powerful when an expert can identify a dysfunctional cycle within an area of skill that you were highly skilled in playing, but you realize that in another area you were having challenges, but also in your expert level of skill in the fitness world of tennis, you were also able to identify some of the same dysfunctional cycles in the people you were training. So I'm glad you shared that. And I'm glad that you were open enough to share that, hey, even though I am an amazing mindfulness coach, I had to, my breakthrough became breakthrough for my clients, to share that and really be open and vulnerable in that way and saying, I was great in this area, but I was not so great in that area. I think especially today when we really have had an upsurging, and you probably would agree with me, we've had an upsurging of so many things recently within a year and a half of mental illness and a lot of depression, and hearing you say that, guys, listen, there are tools out there that you can implement in your life. Let it become a part of your habit, and habits, whether it's good or bad, as you know, Christian, becomes a lifestyle. So I love how, and that is so why I wanted to bring you on, because of your level of knowledge, because of your level of openness, as I've been studying before having you on, and being able to bring transformation to people's lives as a mindset coach. What would you say is one of your greatest joys of doing the work that you do as a mindset coach?
Also a wonderful question. Well, first off, I want to say I very much appreciate the way you framed, my answer. So we very much are on the same page, and that basically is these things happen when you have the ability to reframe what I was saying and just explain it in a different way or from a different perspective, but we're talking about the same thing, is once people understand the mechanisms of how things work, right? So that is what happened to me. It's like I noticed what is happening in me. I started seeing the same mechanism seeing in other people, right? And once I learned that these mechanisms can be manipulated and adjusted in any direction, intentionally or unintentionally, and they are basically being manipulated all the time, whether we want it or not. But once we implement a systematic, consistent approach and we have a goal in mind that is realistic, then we can start to manipulate experiences slowly but surely into a more positive, pleasant, and effective direction for our life, right? You can't change everything into a positive direction, but like you can move the needle quite significantly, that like you're experiencing more joy and more fulfillment in life. You're not suffering as much. You understand yourself on a much deeper level. You're able to implement positive behavior change, and you are starting to kind of be of service to other people, close to you in your life. People maybe in bigger circles, in your communities, and even beyond. And most importantly, you start to be in service for yourself also, which a lot of people kind of neglect, right? So one of the biggest joys, coming back to that question, really for me is when people have the realization for the first time that, oh, I can actually change this. I didn't know that. It's not something that they need to, or nor should, from my perspective, believe because I say it, or believe because this person says it, or it's true for that person. I think everybody should take everything that anybody says with a significant grain of salt, but at the same time be open towards it and see whether experientially, once you try it out and it is backed by scientific evidence and it is safe, then whether that is something that works for you. And once people have not the intellectual understanding of like, like if I develop my ability to pay attention to what I want, that ability will improve, is kind of like a duh. But the experience of being able to pay attention to what you want compared to when you tried to pay attention to something that you want and you couldn't do it because you got distracted by something and your mind would always get pulled away, that is such a powerful experience that at that point people are like, whoa, okay, then now I get it, right? And